Majority of the people that you see walking around every day, they are great actors. These people are ticking time bombs. A lot of us are waiting for the system to crash so we can stop paying bills and we can stop going to work. But there are other people who are waiting, right? They're waiting for chaos. They're waiting for the unlawfulness so that they can enact all the twisted, dark shit that's in their head. That they waiting to do it. Now, these are your neighbors. This can be your neighbors, your doctors, your lawyers. You feel me? Like, seemingly normal people. But they not all the way there. They waiting on that perfect moment to do everything that they've been wanting to do. And I know y'all be seeing the cases where, you know, a person will go pew-pew a target or something. They couldn't wait. They acted on it now. They can't wait. They can't wait. Now, to the women, all that I'm just a girl shit, all that's out the window. Who do y'all think they gonna come after first? Women and children will be the #1 target. Women and children will be the #1 target. Women and children will be the #1 target. The #1 target. All that I'm just a girl, pretty princess, all that shit is out the window, especially if you have children. As a grown woman, you need to know how to defend yourself. And I'm not talking about just with a pew-pew. You need to be able to drop a grown-ass man to the ground if you need to and run. You feel me? Get your kids. You feel me? You need to be teaching your kids how to survive too. This is the times that we in. This is just the reality, bro. You won't always have a man around you that you can rely on to protect you. So in that case, what are you gonna do? You gonna lay down and give up? No, know how to fucking defend yourself as a grown woman. And if you got kids, you already need to be physically fit in the first place. Let's not repeat history. All of this stuff coming out about Hurricane Katrina, please do not let all these go in vain, bro. One thing that taught me is that women are extremely vulnerable, women and children. So all that I'm just a girl shit, no, I ain't with all that. I'm telling y'all, I'm finna get us some martial arts and all types of shit. I'm not playing, bro. This shit is not, it's not time to play. It's time to get for real.
This is the book of 1 Peter, chapter 4, and verse 17. For the time has come that judgment must begin at the house of YAHAWAH by Hashem Yahushua. If it first begin at us, what shall the end be of them that obey not the gospel of YAHAWAH by Hashem Yahushua? First and foremost, I'd like to give all praise and honor to YAHAWAH by Hashem Yahushua by Hashem Kakadash. I want to give double honor to the apostles and elder bishop of Great Millstone who rule well in teaching us the truth 100% securely. And I would like to give a salutation to the Akim and Aqua while listening and studying to show thyself approved. All right, so you seen the clip, you know, and this is pretty much the inspiration based on a few lessons that I just got you watching. I just was basically feasting off of 3 different lessons. One lesson was my Akadar Shahan, Amawan Abad, not Salaki, not Amawan Abad, Amawan Gabar. You know, he had to pay GMS, no, it's not GMS dedication. Salaki, bear with me for a minute. Let me look it up real quick, because I got him shared. GMS Awakening, 144, all right? And then my Akadar's lesson is Kingdom is near and dear to the end too. And then Amaki Allah with GMS KC Prophet, all right? And so these 3 lessons, you know, each of the brothers, they made a very valid point, okay? And one of the points that was made, which we'll go into first, was my Amaki Allah. He mentioned how, you know, a lot of these women are gonna lose their men, okay, and they're gonna be very quick. They're gonna be very vulnerable, right? So they're going to be very vulnerable to the point. So like to bear with me for a minute and put this on do not disturb. All right. They're going to be very vulnerable to the point where they're going to be an easy target, just like what was said in that clip. Okay. And this is what goes into, several prophecies that come to mind, which is Isaiah 32:9, where it says, rise up, you women that are at ease. Right. Hear my voice, you careless daughter. Okay. You careless daughter, because these are the women that, when it says rise up, you women that are at ease, these are the women that had that great pride. Okay. They felt like they can't be touched. All right. They felt like the laws of America is going to forever protect them. Okay. Now we're coming to that time where the laws is going to be done away with. Like the laws of America, people are not going to regard the laws at all. Okay. Another good point was YAHAWAH Bar, which he also mentioned that a lot of these people are a ticking time bomb. Okay, that's a prophecy that lines up perfectly with Matthew the 24th chapter, where it said the love of many shall wax cold. Right, and YAHAWAH Bar mentioned that in his lesson. All right, and then last not least, you got my Akadar Tahan, who pretty much mentioned that a lot of these people are waiting for that major event, which he mentioned Hurricane Katrina. Okay, and if you haven't been watching any of those documentaries, if you haven't seen any of documentaries of what happened during Hurricane Katrina, you should go watch it. Okay, because that should be an eye opener. All right, and you should be wanting to get right where YAHAWAH YAHAWAH. And so the only thing that I really didn't agree with, of course, is that the fact that she pretty much leaning on her own understanding. She's saying that she's going to go get into karate and get into self-defense, which is good in a sense, but the most important thing you need to be doing is trying to pray to YAHAWAH YAHAWAH. Okay, you need to be praying like King David. Matter of fact, let's get that the precept that just popped up. Let's get this Psalm chapter 62, or is it 64? Let's look at 62 and verse 4. So let's start 64:2. Right. So it's 64:2. Psalm 64:2. And this is King David. Right. Matter of fact, we start at verse 1. And it said, hear my voice, O power, my prayer, preserve my life from the fear of the enemy. Okay. And this is that point. This is that, right. You not only, I mean, it's okay to get your exercise going and, wanting to learn how to protect yourself. But your ultimate goal is to try to pray and be right with YAHAWAH YAHAWAH. Okay? And that's the only, and that's the beautiful title that my Akadar he titled his lesson. Okay? He actually titled the lesson, Nothing or No One Can Save You Besides YAHAWAH and YAHAWAH. And that's the truth. Okay? And so that's the mindset you need to be in order for you to be saved from these perils that get ready to come right on this soil, this very soil called America, aka Babylon the Great. Okay? And so this is the same mindset King David was in. King David said, even though I had my sword and my bow, loosely paraphrasing, I did not put my trust in it. I put my trust 100% in YAHAWAH YAHAWAH. And that's the mindset you need to be in, instead of, what she's saying, we need to love. She was telling the women, you women, you need to learn how to put a grown man on his ass and all of that. That's only going to go so far, okay? Just like my Akadar said, it's only going to go so far, right? Now, if you have more than one man with the same skill set, okay, hey, you ain't going to need nothing but the Lord. And if YAHAWAH YAHAWAH is not dealing with you, he's going to let you get taken over. He's going to let you get slaughtered, man, okay? So this is Psalm 64. And 1 again from the top, and it said, hear my voice, O power, and my prayer, preserve my life from the fear of the enemy. And verse 2, hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrections of the workers of iniquity, who whet their tongues like a sword, and bend their bow and shoot their arrows, even bitter word. They may shoot in secret at the perfect, suddenly do they shoot at him, and fear not. Okay? And so this is pretty much Esau Edom, the so-called white man, the devil, all right? Because when she said a lot of people are ticking time bomb, she literally described the white man, the so-called devil, Okay, so if you actually look up some of those documentaries of Hurricane Katrina, what happened during Hurricane Katrina when those people were trying to evacuate their neighborhood, those Edomites, the so-called white man, they pretty much went nigger hunting. Okay, that's basically what they did. All right, and that lines up perfectly with 2nd Ezra chapter 15 and verse 17, because it said, "A man shall desire to leave a city and shall not be able." Right, and that's pretty much what happened during that Hurricane Katrina. All right, they was trying to reach a place where the refugee buses was at, and they were being shot at. Okay, so they had a desire to leave their city, leave their neighborhood, and they was not able due to the fact that their life was in danger. Okay, and that's gonna happen, and basically right around the corner. Okay, so they go from there. And so what we started out, we read, First Peter chapter 4 and verse 17, okay? Because it said, "For the time is come that judgment must begin at the house of YAHAWAH Bahashim Yahushua. If it first begin at us, what shall the end be of them that obey not the gospel of YAHAWAH Bahashim Yahushua?" And this is Apostle Peter who's asking that question. What shall the end be of them that obey not the gospel? Of those individuals that refuse to hearken unto the voice of the Lord Yahweh thy power. All right, where is their end going to be? Okay, well, we just described in the beginning of the video, a lot of those people are going to be unalived by those very same people who are ticking time bomb, just like you said in that video. Okay, a lot of those people are going to be caught in those snares in the trap. All right, and that's a future prophecy, and when you actually saw the beginning of the video, it actually quoted Sirach chapter 39 to 24, because it said there be spirits that are created for vengeance, okay, which in their fury lay on sore throat, and in the time of their wrath they appease the wrath of him that made him. This is the Heavenly Father, his name is YAHAWAH, who given a commandment to those very spirits that are created for vengeance. The Lord give that commandment, okay? So we get that in Ezekiel, the 9th chapter. Okay, so this is the Heavenly Father giving that commandment, and he did this in this exact same example in Ezekiel chapter 9, and really we start at verse 4. Okay, and it says, "And the Lord said unto him, Go through the midst of the city." All right, just basically in a summary. Matter of fact, when you start at verse 3, all right, because this is when the Lord gathered all the angels, okay, and they was in a meeting, just kind of summarizing what's going on in the chapter, okay. In verse 3, it says, "And the glory of the power of Israel was gone up from the cherub, whereupon he was to the threshold of the house, and he called the man clothed with the linen which had the writer's inkhorn by his side." Okay, this is the angel who had the writer's inkhorn, which he was basically getting ready to write down orders from Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. Okay, in verse 4, "And the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahushua said unto him, Go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, and set a mark upon the forehead of the man that sigh and that cry for all the abomination that be done in the midst of thereof." Okay, and it said that man that sigh and that cry, those are the prophets that go out on the highways and byways, and they're pretty much applying Isaiah 58 and 1, where it said that cry aloud, spare not, lift up thy voice like a trumpet, okay, and show the house to Israel their sin. Those are the ones that are crying and sighing, and the Lord's going to put a mark on them, and that mark that's going to be on their foreheads is pretty much going to be the elect, okay, the elect of the nation of Israel. All right, and in verse 5, and it says, "And to the other he said, In my hearing, go ye after him through the city and smite. Let not your eyes spare, neither have ye pity. Slay utterly old and young, both maid and little children and women, but come not near any man upon whom is the mark, and began at my sanctuary. Then they began at the ancient man, which were before the house." Okay, so this is, it says the old and young. These are your elderlies, okay. These are your young women, right, and children. They're going to be the most vulnerable during this time of chaos, okay. When the laws are pretty much voided, because during the time of chaos, it's going to be, the police is not going to be able to uphold the law, during a major event similar to Hurricane Katrina. Okay, so that's why when she mentioned in the beginning of the clip, she said a lot of these people are pretty much waiting, for the collapse so they don't have to pay bills anymore and stuff like that. But they are pretty much missing the fact that you got a lot of people that waiting for that so they can, perform their darkest desires. Okay, and that's pretty much more than likely it's gonna be Esau eating the so-called white man. Of course, you're gonna have the 2/3 who want to go out and unalive the so-called white man as well too. Okay, so it's gonna be that civil war, all right, that's gonna take place. Okay, but the hopeful elect, they gonna be out of the way. All right, they're not gonna be partaking in those fights. Okay, we're gonna be looking for where Yahawah Shem Yahshua tell us to go. Okay, which that leads me to Proverbs chapter 22. And this is pretty much what the elect is going to be doing. Okay, they're not going to fall for the the okie doke and go out. They're going to be trying to walk out of the midst of Babylon. As it said in Revelation 18 and 14. In Proverbs 22 and 3, and it says, "A prudent man foreseeth the evil and hideth himself, but the simple passes on and are punished." You see that? And that pretty much is an example with the lady, which she said she was going to train herself and so on and so forth, but she's not relying on Yahawah Shem Yahshua. She's not being that prudent man. Matter of fact, she's thinking that the weapon, as the scripture said, the weapons of our warfare are not carnal. She's thinking of carnal means to save herself. Okay, this is a spiritual battle. All right. So that spiritual battle is you need to be building your faith. You need to be having that prayer, building your prayers up and praying to Yahawah Shem Yahshua that he will hide you from the secret counsel. He will put that spirit on you to flee when you see the enemy come. Okay, you get Proverbs chapter 4 and verse 14. Okay, and this is the exact same thing what the prudent man is going to be doing. All right, and it says enter not into the path of the wicked, go not in the way of evil men. Okay, and so you're going to go the opposite way. This is what the elect going to do. This is what the prudent man is going to do. And it said in verse 15, "Avoid it, pass not by it, turn from it, and pass away." You see that? And so that's pretty much an example of a prudent man. But in verse 15, and it said, "For they sleep not except they have done mischief, and their sleep is taken away unless they cause some to fall." You see that? And it said, "For they eat the bread of wickedness and drink the wine of violence. But the path of the just is as the shining light that shineth more and more unto the perfect day." Okay? And in verse 19, "The way of the wicked is as darkness, they know not at what they stumble." Okay, and so they don't realize that they're trying to go about this thing for carnal means. You got jakes out here that say we need to save ourselves, we need to get armed up, get our license to arm ourselves and so on and so forth, which is there's nothing wrong with getting your firearm, but the most important, you have to have Yahawah Shem Yahshua in your midst. Okay, that's got to be first and foremost number one, just like King David. Okay, let's get 1 Thessalonians chapter 5. And the point will be in verse 6, but we're gonna read up a little bit. Okay, because we start at verse 3. Okay, so because it said, "For when they shall say peace and safety," there's going to come a time when this is when when all hell's about to break loose, and when all this chaos is going on, and you got Esau Edom who control the media, and they gonna mention something about peace and safety, everything is gonna be all right. Okay, and this is when that destruction is gonna come. "Then sudden destruction come upon them as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape." Okay, and the reason why they're not going to escape, because they're going to be caught off guard, is because they felt like they were safe. All right, "But ye brethren are not in darkness." All right, These right here was Apostle Paul saying, "Ye brethren are not in darkness." He's basically describing a prudent man, and he said that day shall overtake you as a thief. Ye are all the children of light and the children of day. We are not of the night nor of darkness. Therefore, let us not sleep as do others, but let us watch and be sober. Okay, and that's pretty much the mindset of that prudent man. Okay, and that's pretty much who the ones who sighing and crying for all abomination of that be done unto that be done in the midst thereof. All right, these are the individuals who are gonna have that mark, which is pretty much the elect. That mark, which is the Hebrew word YAHAWAH. All right, which means exemption from judgment. Okay. Read that, and let's get Revelation chapter 9. What we're basically gonna break down what I just got you saying, that those who are exemption from judgment. Okay, and it's Revelation 9:4, and it says, "And it was commanded that day should not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only those men would have not the seal of YAHAWAH in their forehead." Okay, so right here, this is the vision that Apostle John, right, who pretty much had the vision, and he saw how the one that was sealed, they was not touched. Okay, they had the angel protecting them, according to Psalms the 91st chapter. Okay, and he also saw those who did not have the seal, which is that Sawah. They didn't have that Sawah, and they were slaughtered. All right, but right here, and it says, and it was commanded, which pretty much proved that YAHAWAH is pretty much in control. Okay, he's the one that's giving out this command, and he's using Esau Edom, the so-called white man. First and foremost, he's going to put that spirit on him, just like he hardened Pharaoh's heart. He's going to put that spirit on them in this very time. Okay, and they're patiently waiting for that time to come. Okay, so this is just a quick lesson I wanted to add to the brothers pretty much going into the judgment must begin at the house of YAHAWAH, because these are the things that are going to happen in due time. So let's get one more precept and we'll close it out, man, because this is why it's very important to seek ye the Lord while he may be found, because the doors of mercy is almost closing, man. And there ain't gonna be enough time for you to get this knowledge. Okay, Darren, because when all hell break loose, that means the elect gonna be sealed. Okay, as the scripture said, all of these things must come to pass until the Gentiles be fulfilled, which is the Israelite foreigners. Okay, those who are Israelite, but they look like the other heathen nation. All right, so this is Ecclesiastica, aka Sirach, chapter 5 and verse 7, and it says, "Make no tarrying to turn to the Lord, YAHAWAH, and put not off from day to day, for suddenly shall the wrath of the Lord," all right, and it says, "Suddenly shall the wrath of the Lord come forth, and in thy security," when you think everything is all good, "thou shalt be destroyed and perish in the day of vengeance." Okay, and this is that example. The judgment shall begin at the house of YAHAWAH. And it says, and if it first begin at us, what shall the end of them that obey not the gospel of YAHAWAH? Okay, that end is gonna be their destruction. Okay, it's gonna be that lake of fire. All right, they're gonna be in pitiful case, as it says in the second Ezra, the 9th chapter and the 9th verse. Okay, because they had liberty. All right, but they understood it and they despised it. All right, the same must Noah by death by pain. Okay, loosely paraphrasing. All of these things are going to take place in this time, and call YAHAWAH, if you have an understanding, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, and you actually obey it. Because for the other people that refuse to hear this word, they're gonna be left out there. YAHAWAH said they would not be defended when that time comes. All right, so Lord willing, this is edifying. With that, let me give our praise and honor to YAHAWAH, Bahashem, YAHAWAH, Bahashem, Kakadash. Want to give double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well in teaching us the truth 100% securely. Shalom, Shalom, Kwam Yasharala, Shalom.